Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Juli and I'm a fantasy artist and oil painter. I spent a week in Austria painting in the mountains and I had a wonderful week filled with creativity and self-discovery, so I invite you to join me as I show you some insights of my alpine painting week. I didn't travel alone though, no, I traveled together with Jules, the owner of the tattoo studio I used to work at. We had this trip planned for months and months and months. I think it was like half a year ago that we planned this trip, and we were so excited to finally go. We couldn't wait for the day. Basically, as soon as we crossed the German-Austrian border, we were greeted with these majestic mountains leading our way. I always feel so small when looking at mountains, just thinking about how long they've been here for. They've seen so much history and changes throughout the millions of years they've been here. We listened to a true crime podcast for almost the entirety of the drive, and I was so invested in these stories that the time just flew by. After driving for 7 hours, we arrived at the chalet in a tiny village in the mountains. And what I didn't talk about yet is how luxurious and fancy it was. This is a video I took of my bedroom. And here are some photos I took from their Instagram, because I didn't take a lot of footage myself from the interior because I just wanted to enjoy the time, and in the end this was a vacation and I didn't want to pressure myself with filming everything all the time. This is the view from the windows and balcony. We were right in the mountains. The village we stayed at looked like it was perfectly nestled against the mountains, and a friend of mine that lives in the area said that it's basically a dead end. I didn't feel like painting that day because I was still quite exhausted from the drive, so I just did some silly warm-up sketches. You know, a duck with frog hair, a frog with a duck head, so on and so on. And then I went to bed quite early, and I slept so well because I had this amazing fluffy blanket. I slept with the window open. I had the cold, crisp air from the mountains in the room and the roaring of the little river and waterfall in front of the chalet. It was chef's kiss. Wonderful. The next day I woke up and started thinking about what I wanted to paint. And because Jules did a sketch of a space galaxy lady, I decided to paint one myself. I was kind of nervous because it was on A3, and especially when I paint with watercolor and acrylics, I don't paint on such a big scale. I always paint a lot smaller, and I always take very long that way because I paint very small little details and spend hours and hours and hours on tiny areas of the piece. But I got into it fairly quickly. love with the color, how the blues and purples and pinks work together. It just gives such a nice effect, and it was so nice to work with watercolor again after using oils for the majority of the time recently. I didn't want to bring oil paints to Austria because I wasn't sure if my painting would dry fast enough, and I also didn't want to pollute the environment around me because oil paint is kind of toxic, so I just went back to watercolor and acrylics for the week. I'm quite impressed that I managed to paint an entire A3 painting in one sitting, because usually I take so long because I paint lots of small details, but because this was on a bigger scale, I had more space to actually work on the details, and it went a lot faster that way. It still took like 12 hours in total, but I'm still quite impressed I managed to finish a painting in one sitting. The time just went by so fast while painting this. The stunning mountain view outside of the window boosted my creativity so much, and it didn't feel like I was painting for 12 hours. We listened to music, podcasts, even the local radio, and we were just totally in our creative zones, just painting, tunnel vision. It was truly amazing. The idea for painting number 2 on the next day came kind of spontaneously, because my boyfriend sent me 2 mice emojis, and Jules randomly said that she wants me to paint 2 mice drinking coffee together. So I decided to paint 2 little mice having a picnic and drinking coffee together. This painting made me so happy because it was different to what I would usually paint. It was also a perfect way for me to explore different topics in my paintings, because of course through tattooing I did a lot of animal drawings and also objects, but so far I didn't really go into that topic when doing large scale paintings or even small paintings like this one. I feel like I would naturally always gravitate towards painting ladies and elves and fairies, but in this case I decided to paint 2 mouse characters. Suddenly I had to think about stuff like, do I paint them really big, or are the fruits around them really big? Like, do I paint realistically sized mice, or do I draw realistically sized fruit? That was a question in my head, but I just decided it's fantasy. I don't care if it's realistic or not. I'm just painting them in whatever size feels right, and I think it turned out really cute. The chalet also has a sauna and hot tub because it's like 5 stars luxury stuff. And on the day of painting the mice, I decided to actually use the sauna and have a nice little spa day for myself. It was just so awesome to relax in between painting, go to the sauna, shower, use a peeling and face scrub and everything. And I can really recommend it. It was very, very nice and definitely made the whole painting process a lot nicer. The next day I decided to not start another big painting, but rather do something smaller in my sketchbook. And I still had an unfinished painting. And I still had an unfinished painting in there that I needed to finish, so perfect timing. My mental health was kind of low for about half of the day, so I didn't want to stress myself with starting another big piece. So finishing an already existing one seemed a lot more chill, so I did that. This is the painting I'm talking about. It's this little landscape shot of a river in the forest, and I love doing these little landscape studies to work on concepts for potential new oil paintings. I really like the colors I used for this one. The greens and blues just complement each other so well, and painting this definitely cleared up my mood. It was so relaxing to finally paint something not as complex as a face or a character, but just get lost in the little landscape and play with different textures and brush strokes. It was exactly what I needed that day. finishing this, I went outside because I met with my longest internet friend. We've known each other since we were 13 years old, so for almost 10 years now. And we found out that she doesn't live very far away from where we were staying. So we decided to finally meet up, and it was so exciting. We didn't take any photos or videos because we're silly buffoons, but we just sat on the bench looking at snowy mountains for like 4 hours and just talked about niche YouTube stuff and anime and politics and everything for 4 hours. And after I went back to the chalet, she texted me, "Thank you for making me feel like 13 years old again." And I just felt the same. I also felt like being a 13-year-old girl talking to her best friend. It was like no time had passed at all since we last spoke. And yeah, my heart is so full. I'm so happy that I could meet up with a long-distance friend after such a long time. Meeting her and talking to her healed me so much that day. My mental health struggles were almost gone when I went back. Of course, I was sad because I couldn't see her for longer, but it was freezing cold outside and I just wanted to get cozy. And then day 5 arrived, our last day, the day that we would be driving back to Germany. We couldn't believe that the time was already over. It didn't feel like 5 days, it just felt like time was flying by. Here you can see the paintings that we did in the week. Of course, Jules painted a lot more than me because she's just so much faster. But I'm really happy with what I did. It's not as much as I had wished, but then again I'm impressed that I managed to finish an A3 painting in one day. Here you can see the size of this thing. I think I can be proud of that. It turned out very nice. On the drive home we again listened to our true crime podcast and I made sure to properly say goodbye to the mountains in my head. I will miss them a lot. I hope I can return very soon. Now what's left to do is showing you the final results of my paintings that I did this week. And I'm also ending the video here. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Oksana for letting us stay in the chalet. Thank you to all of you for watching this video, for liking, commenting and supporting me. I hope you like the paintings that I did and yeah, I hope you stick around and see you next time. Bye!